1:15.
Yep. Lovely. Right, thanks very much, everybody, for turning out again. Real good turnout again. And thank you for all the councillors, MP, and everybody else that's turned up. You all, shown your support again. A few things first. I'd just like to say I realise a lot of people are involved in the battery storage unit that's going in at the other side of Thirsk, but please can we just keep away from that today. Today is just about farming, budget and that sort of thing, please. We need to, we're all here for better prospects for agriculture. We want better prices, less substandard imports that are diluting the price that we get at the farm gate. And therefore, then this will help us pay for the budget for the extra expense on the budget. Sorry, is that work? Yeah, it is. Yeah, sorry. It's been withdrawn. Right. So it was plain to see from Steve Reid's speech at the Oxford Farming Conference yesterday that the government wants us to become a solar park and a playground, basically, with holiday lets and diversification. If anybody hasn't seen it yet or read the speech, I'd urge you to do so. So the main point I want to get at this meeting is to encourage North Yorkshire County Council to follow the example that Sean McMaster of East Riding Council, he made a motion on the 8th that East Riding Council are voting against the inheritance tax bill. And I would like to urge North Yorkshire County Council to follow suit, do the same, and get it passed and get it sent back to the government. So can I introduce you to our chairman, Chris Brown? A lot of people will know him. Farmer, ex-councillor, mountaineer, explorer, all sorts. Farmer, he says. There you are, Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Can you all hear me at the back? Fine. Well, thanks all for coming on. At the moment, farming or agriculture, whatever you want to call it, is really in the spotlight. You'll know that as farmers. I farm myself. I'm a partnership, family farming partnership at Baldersby, and at the moment we are really, really struggling. You shouldn't say that as a farmer, but we are struggling. We've been struggling for a year or two, so don't blame the previous government, don't blame this government. We just need the public on our side. So what today we're trying to do is get as many people as we possibly can to support British farmers. We actually know how to grow food. We've taught the world how to grow food. I'm old enough to remember 1979. I chaired a meeting here with Michael Joplin, Peter Walker, Neil Balfour, and the great Sir Henry Plum. And they had a policy then in 1979, and it was just straightforward food from Britain. Why we can't go back there, I do not know. So today, hopefully, that's the theme of this meeting. It's going back to where we were, food from Britain. That's enough for me. We are time limited. First of all, we're going to introduce the panel, then there'll be questions and answers. Hopefully, we can all leave this room more positive, more positive than we are at the moment. So thanks for coming. We'll now introduce the panel first of all. They're going to speak for 2 to 3 minutes, and then obviously when we've gone down, it's over to you. You ask the questions, you ask them where we want to be. So thanks very much. We'll start now if we can. The first person, they'll introduce themselves and they'll speak for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to ask Felicity, cunliffe-lister, lady on the right.
I think this is not working.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, just hold it fairly close to your mouth.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? So it's very good to see you all, despite the circumstances. I think the high turnout reflects the very high levels of concern about the current agricultural policy, and those are concerns that I share, and that's my reason for being here this morning. I'd like, first of all, though, to thank Clare and Phil very, very much for organising this event, for bringing us all together, and I'd like to thank Chris Brown also for chairing. Now, it's not overnight that the situation has developed, I think we have to be mindful of the fact, as Chris has mentioned, that you've been facing challenges for a long time now, but I do feel at the moment you've perhaps reached the point of crisis point where we really have to address this now. You've been facing high costs for as long as I can remember, and more recently energy, fertiliser costs. You know all this already. I'm worried about fertiliser costs going up even more now. I worry about the subsidy levels, the fact that they've fallen and yet haven't been replaced by a really functioning system that's easy to operate for everyone to be able to deliver. I worry about the trade deals that have been negotiated. I worry about the threat of cheap imports. I worry about them being below standard. I worry about how you, who grow and produce fantastic food, are being undermined. I worry about biosecurity. I worry about controls at the border. I worry about what's coming in. And there again, we have high land prices. Non-farmers bought over half of farms sold in 2023. And I worry about the future. I worry about the next generation who are coming through and what hope there is for them. In addition to all of that, it's now compounded by what we're facing today with IHT, the NIC wage increases, the pickup tax and the fertiliser tax. This has all really come to a head for me. What I know is that you are custodians of the landscape. You are the custodians of the countryside. You deliver and produce great food, and you put food on our plate. You deserve a fair deal and a better deal than what you're facing today. You deserve to be paid a fair price, and you deserve to be rewarded for the public environmental good that you already deliver and what you could deliver more of. I think you've been let down recently by both parties. You know, as you've already said, we're here. It's where we're at today. But it is my view that the Lib Dems are a party that understands your issues and actually wants to deliver solutions as well, both for food security and for environmental stewardship, because they run hand in hand. It's not an either-or choice, in my view. So this is what I'm going to do. I should have introduced myself. Sorry, Chris, I didn't do that. I'm a county councillor for North Yorkshire. So as a county councillor for North Yorkshire and as a representative of the Liberal Democratic group, we will put forward a motion to ask the council to write to the Secretary of State to reverse the proposals proposed for IHT, pickup tax and fertiliser tax. But what's more important also, or running alongside that I should say, is we want to continue to engage with you. I think it's fantastic that you're here today. You've all got something to say. And as Lib Dems, we want to engage with you so that you can help us shape our policy. I mean, our policy is 62 pages long. I will warn you, we've already given this a great deal of thought, but there is always more to do. And so we would invite you to meet our MPs. We have a March conference in Harrogate. I want all of you to talk to me, talk to your Lib Dem councillors, and we will engage with our Lib Dem MPs in order to develop policy further and challenge what the current situation is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felicity. If you can save your questions till they've all been along the panel, please. Or anything there, take interest, come back later. Now we'll introduce Steve on my right. Introduce yourself, Steve.
Yeah, no worries. Just confined to Selby and Scarborough, so we have very little in knowledge within farming. Myself, I was moved to Selby in the 80s. My family on my father's side are farmers in West Riding, or West Yorkshire as it is now. On my mother's side, they have poultry farms. I spent lots of Saturday mornings selling eggs on Wakefield Market. I will locally admit my views are mine and not that of the Labour Party. And I do think, and I've been told several times this morning, what we need to do is listen. Sorry, I was told several times this morning that what we ought to do is listen. And that's what I thought was coming here. I'm quite happy to speak to people at any time. I can say that moving motions at North Yorkshire, while it might get a few headlines, is practically useless. The way to move is to talk to people individually, to talk to the MPs, to talk to the government. And I'm quite happy to do that, and I'm quite happy to talk to anybody here today. The facts that we have that are independent, that anybody with a farm that's worth less than 3 million as a couple would pay no tax. The policy is really aimed at major landowners, not farmers. And I think there's a distinction to be drawn between the two. I do feel that the 25% of farmers are going to be invested are those that really should contribute towards tax within this country. Nobody can live tax-free. We want to tax the people who are landowners and not farmers. And I think there's a distinction between the two. However we've lived, we need to know, as a Labour Party and Labour organisation, more about the issues that affect farmers. I'm quite happy to listen to anybody, and I'm quite happy to take those, the information you've got on the knowledge back to Lane, to my employee, and back to William Scarborough and back onto Parliament. I'm quite happy to answer any questions, and I'll be here till the very end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. So now see, this man needs to know. This is the man on our side who needs to know. Now I'm going to introduce the man on my left, but we've let the people know. This is Kevin Hollaindrake, Member of Parliament. Over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Kevin Hollaindrake, been your Member of Parliament for 10 years. Lived down the road in Easewall, born and brought up down the road in Easewall. So very much from the farming area, you obviously produce food in, and my dad was a farmer as well, a hill farmer over the West Yorkshire before I moved to Easewall. Food and farming as a sector makes a bigger contribution to our economy than aerospace and automotive together. So it's a huge part of our economy, and it's absolutely right, as Chris said earlier, that we champion the interests of UK farming. Our biggest job in Parliament really is not to intervene all the time in what you're doing. We should keep out of the way as much as possible, in my view. I was in business for 30 years before politics. But we must try and maintain wherever we can. I know there's concerns in here that we have not always done that. Make sure we maintain a fair and level playing field for you versus for foreign competition. But also we prioritise food production. I am very concerned about some of the things that's coming out of the government right now, not just on APR and BPR, but also in terms of moving our farmland from production of food into production of energy, which to me is a ludicrous situation. In terms of this particular issue, the biggest issue that's brought you all here today, and a fantastic turnout, and thanks to Phil and Clare for organising today, is, of course, is this inheritance tax, the change to inheritance tax treatment of your farms, both agriculture property relief and business property relief, which both affect this sector but in different ways. I've got to say, and I'm sorry to say, Steve, when you're here, and I really appreciate you turning up. It must have been a difficult decision you had to make to come here in the first place, but I do think this is about the politics of envy. It's not about raising a huge amount of money. I think 500 million quid in year 5 this raises the government. This is about people perceiving you as millionaires, and why should you be able to why should you not have to pay inheritance tax like other people? And that shows a real misunderstanding of what this issue is about. And I'm sorry, I have to contest what Steve said earlier. I've met with farmers who farm mid-sized farms, 350 acres, who are going to be faced with an inheritance tax bill of £500,000, which would be more than 10 years of profits. It's simply impossible. You'd have to sell about a third of that farm, the land on that farm, to pay that bill. And the way the tax system works is simply wrong. And to say this will only affect a few hundred farms every year, 500 farms every year, is just not true. It's about 75% of commercial farms. When they say that, it's because they're also including very, very small landholdings, and that's not the point. The people in this room, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't affecting you. And the tens of thousands of people that came down to Westminster would not have been there if it had been only affecting a small number of farms. 89,500 farms, according to the CABA, over a generation. That's the number it affects. It affects this whole sector for generations and for lifetimes, particularly those, who are nearing the end of life, who can't do the tax planning that somebody else may be able to do, which is far more complicated than it sounds, as you know. But I've got to say, after being in politics for 10 years, you know you might get it wrong when you announce a policy, a budget, and then a few weeks later you've got your own ministers going out trying to explain to people how to avoid the tax that's derived from that policy. The Office of Budget Responsibility said that it says it in their analysis of the budget. This budget does this. It says it shifts resources out of private incomes into public services. That's what it's doing. It's deeply ideological and deeply wrong and deeply counterproductive when it comes to the government's supposedly central objective, which is growth. Because governments don't create growth, business people create growth, and they do that by investing. And all I can see, everybody I hear today, I've met 2 farmers at my surgery earlier today before this, all I hear from those farmers is that instead of investing, you're going around trying to find out how to avoid this tax, and tax planning and putting money aside, you would be investing. And that the economy will not grow as a result, or it will grow less quickly as a result. It's also hitting food security. And the worst thing about all this, of course, and what are you seeing already, is, I've got to say, the money they do derive, not just from this, but also the employers' NI, £25 billion a year out of the economy, 70 billion in total, 40 billion of tax rises every year, plus 30 billion of borrowing to spend on the economy. A lot of that is just going to get wasted. The reality is, I've never seen a government settle pay claims with train drivers and nurses and doctors at face value without any productivity strings attached. It's simply wrong. When I saw, and I challenged Alistair Campbell on this when I saw him quite recently, I said, there's no way in the world, in your days with Blair and Bound, they would have settled those pay claims at face value without getting something back in return. And he says, you're absolutely right. And that says everything about this government, I'm afraid. My message to you now, though, is I do not think the government's going to change its mind. Do everything you can. It's great what you're doing now, and keep this process going, and go to the constituencies with those tractors of MPs representing rural areas and keep these protests going. But I think it's going to take until 2029. We've stated it will reverse it, both APR and BPR, and that can't come too soon. But I'm afraid I don't think that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer are going to make a change to what they've done already.
Hello there, can you hear me? Close. My name's Mart Robinson and I represent Reform UK. Sorry. My name's Mart Robinson and I represent Reform UK here. I'm a small farmer from just outside Thirsk, and I have real appreciation of the difficulties that we all face as a consequence of decades and decades, probably more than 100 years of mismanagement by politicians. The establishment parties are all represented here, and they have had about 120 years to practice government. They have failed at every single turn. With farming, the problem isn't only the latest assault from the socialists on what we feed the country with, which is essentially the land that we husband and look after. It is the raft of impossible to penetrate regulations. It is the enormous tax burden, the enormous burden of environmental nonsense that we have to suffer as a consequence of insane government policies, one after another. And the only thing that will change this is a complete about-face in the political landscape, as we say nowadays. We need a fresh look at the way society is organised, the way farming and business is done. We need to give people incentive to seek employment. We need to make sure that people have sufficient in their pay packet to incentivise them to go to work. And that applies to farmers too. The last straw was this inheritance tax, but it applies to all sorts of business, with the business property relief too. It's just insane to think that we can survive on a service economy. We don't make anything here anymore. All of our industry has been offshored. If you try and buy a tractor that's made in the UK, I think Ford are the only factory still going. It's not easy to support British workers at all. And this has come about, all of it, every single bit has come about as a result of successive governments' policies. Now, without change, this will never change. Kevin can say, I said during the election that I didn't want to be personal in any way, shape or form. I was surprised actually how beastly and unpleasant politics can be. I was very surprised. But it's all very well to say, oh, next time when we get back in, everything will be different. They've had 14 years to address things. We've had the European stranglehold. You've only got to look at fishing. Why did they give all our fish away? We need to feed ourselves. We're I understand, about 60% self-sufficient in agricultural produce. We import milk to make cheddar cheese from. Sorry, that's the wrong way around. We import cheddar cheese. Well, we could make the cheddar cheese here and use up some of the milk, which would increase demand, which would increase prices. It really isn't rocket science. Holland was the biggest producer of salad products, things like peppers. Second biggest, I think, in the world. We have the same climate, but we don't do that because of the energy costs. The energy costs, the electricity in this country is the most expensive in the world. And that hasn't just happened in the last 4 months. No, that happened under the Tories. It's ridiculous. We have all these burdens, all the costs. And I mean, the only thing I can say really, just to repeat myself, is that without change, complete political change, until there is a will to make this country great again, literally nothing will change. They promise the earth and deliver exactly the opposite.
Thank you all very much for speaking. There's a representative somewhere, James Parrott, the new elected mayor of North Yorkshire. We elected last, and somewhere over there. James, you just want to say a word on behalf of the mayor?
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, hello. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so I'll start by saying I'm not a politician. I'm the mayor. I run the mayor's office. I'm a farmer's son, but I'm not a farmer. I'm not going to address the politics of today. I want to talk about practically what we're doing with the mayor and with North Yorkshire Council working in partnership. So we absolutely understand the implications and the challenges facing farming. We've already been and we've met with Treasury and had a conversation with them. I think more importantly, in York and North Yorkshire, we're now the only region in the country which has clearly stated to government that food and farming is one of our clear growth priorities. So we've got a duty to put a growth plan to government, and food and farming is front and centre of that plan. And the whole purpose of that is so that we can get a settlement from government around how we can support the industry. So what we're doing as a combined authority is we're currently commissioning some research to actually understand what is the impact of the changes, and that's not just the tax changes that happened recently, that's on the back of Brexit and everything else around what's the kind of degradation of farming comes over the last kind of generation, to actually understand what are the practical things we can do. But I think what I'd say as a combined authority, the key point is, we see food and farming front and centre of the future of the economy of York and North Yorkshire. And we're absolutely committed to finding very practical ways that we can work with you. So we're working with the NFU, Yorkshire Agricultural Society, CLA, Thirsk Science, the University of York and the Fix Our Food Initiative. So we're working with all these partners, to understand what is the real implications and what is the future sustainability of farming, but actually more importantly, what are the very practical things we can do at a York and North Yorkshire level which will help you as farmers be more viable and more sustainable in the future. Because that's the key thing here, it's about farm incomes. It's not about inheritance tax or other taxation. It's actually about how do we make sure that the profits that you're earning means that you're a sustainable, viable business, not for one generation, but for multiple generations to come. So like I say, I'll leave the politics to these guys here. I just want to say that as a combined authority with the mayor, we're on it, we're working with government, and we've been absolutely clear that food and farming sits at the very centre and the forefront of the economy for York and North Yorkshire.
Thank you all very much. It's now your turn. You've got these people, you've all heard what they're saying. Phil's going to go around with the mic. Make your questions as short as possible if you can, and then see if we get some reaction from the top table. Thank you.
Put your hand up, yeah, if you're a fan, yeah. If you think or you know that you will not have an inheritance tax to pay, i.e. your estate is worth less than 2 million, drop your hand. All these guys come bill to pay. Sorry, right, questions? Sorry, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Sorry, it's more of a statement made. I think the county council should support full farming. Right, okay. I think it was you that was prospect of county council.
Yep, yep.
Some sort of motion. As deputy leader of the county council, will take the decisions the majority group this week not to wait until February to rule out the council meeting. But the leader is to write, if not already done so, that letter will start to do.
Basically, it is to go to a vote for North Yorkshire County Council. They're already going to send support to the government on our behalf.
When reform makes the next government, which I'm certain they will, we will see change. I can answer it, yeah. I can. At the next general election, when reform make the next government, which I am certain they will, we will see change. We will. We cannot go on as we are. So 29. There's the answer from the election in 29, if not before.
Kevin, you'd just like to reply.
Sorry.
I didn't expect this to be a hustings with a future election, so I don't want to turn to that. It's about one big issue particularly. Of course, it's a bit frustrating being in opposition, and the things we'd like to do that we can't do. We'll be the best opposition we can be. I've got to say, and sorry against Steve, but Labour was never popular on the doorstep. It wasn't popular at the ballot box. Less than 34% of the vote. No government's ever won a majority, formed a majority government in this country with 34% of the vote. We made our mistakes. I don't agree with Mark that everything was wrong in 14 years. We did many things well. We did some things wrong. That's a reality, and we got punished for it in the ballot box. I totally understand why, but 2029 is the point we can make a difference to this. If we cut each other's throat again, the reason Labour have such a big majority in this country is because we split our votes on the right. If we do that again in 2029, you're going to get the same result. If you vote for any other party than mine, you're going to get more of Labour. That's what you're going to get. So that's your choice you're going to have to make.
But that's, oh, well, sorry. But that isn't true because reform, there used to be real single
Yes,
pot,
well,
right?
speaking
Well, there you go.
in the
You're going to hear
opposition,
it a lot.
hear me all right? Because I draw my right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a county councillor, but I'm in opposition here, so I'm not in the majority. It's very difficult to affect change without working with all the parties together and trying to get cross-party support. Now, based on the strength of feeling today and based on the importance that agriculture holds within our North Yorkshire economy, I'm working towards cross-party support for change within the council, and that really just falls on the other parties to help support me do that. And the next thing you need to do is read the Lib Dem policies on farming if you're not familiar with them already. Look at what the other Lib Dem MPs are doing elsewhere in the country supporting farmers, and vote Lib Dem at the next election.
Thank you, Felicity. I think what is determined to us is, that's a very good question that lady asked. We need to know where we're going today and tomorrow, not in 2029 or whatever. We need to know what's happening. Steve's kindly going to sum up that question. What are you going to do, Steve?
Well, I think what I can say is that while ever I've been on North Yorkshire, I have been a member of the opposition party. And two leaders, one is sat in the front here, John, and what I have learned from that is shouting and bawling about what's going to happen at the next election doesn't work. I have achieved more from talking to the leader of the council and other members to get things done, and we do have to work together. I do actually agree with Kevin that there will be another Labour government unless the Tories get their act together, and that is not jumping in bed with reform. They were the most populist party going, but irrespective of the results on the doorstep, Labour have got a massive majority. They're in power for the next 4 years at least, and they're the ones you need to be speaking to. At North Yorkshire we do work quite well together, and we can achieve a lot together, and I'm quite happy, as I said before, to listen and to work with Tories and the opposition as much as possible.
Thank you, Steve. Another question, please.
Just a quick one, though. I know we've done hands in the air once already, but all fans put your hands in the air. That's fine again. This is for you to answer your question about selling land for solar panels. Now, I know for a fact that the rent for solar panels is about £1,100 an acre. Anybody making £1,100 an acre at the minute? That's why you've got 5 solar panels. You need to put round and sell them.
I've been to see my accountant, and I've also been to see my solicitor. I'm going to tell you everyone today that it's going to cost our family £1.26 million if my father dies. My father is currently 85, well, he'll be 85 years old this year. So I'm going to pray that he will survive till he's 92. Yeah? So I don't have to pay this £1.26 million. So, and if he does die, and I have to pay this £1.26 million, will the Labour government help me pay this £1.26 million? No, I don't think so. So, another thing is, what I'd like to know is, why can't we get the price of wheat, why can't the price of food be fair? We were getting the price of food that we used to get back in the 70s and the 80s. We get paid very well for it. This cheap crap coming in from the rest of the world, and all over the world, it's not farm sure, and yet we get penalised. If we would get proper money for what we produce, then I don't mind putting money aside to pay my inheritance tax. Like any business, because we're making some money. So I want to know, how the hell are you going to get our prices up there so it's all fair, so I can pay our inheritance tax bill?
Bachelor's degree in agriculture, and I'm in the exact same position. We are only the 5th generation farmer, and my grandpa is 92, so he's beaten you, and he's got to survive another 7 years now, and if he doesn't, he will take £2.5 million tax bill with him, because he owns 50% of our farm. So try and do the maths on that. When our farm in a good year makes 70,000.
Why do we do it?
meeting today, and I'm going to go along the panel to see what reaction we're getting from the guest speakers. Those are very good questions. One over there from Graham, and one over there from the lady, I don't know your name. But you've got to deal with this problem now. This problem, how we pay this money. So I'm going to go along the panel to see if they can report this to government. If this can get reported to government, we might get some action. Felicity, how can we move it forward?
Well, I'm going to, for want of repeating myself, I'm going to take this forward to all the Lib Dem MPs, particularly those who are representing agricultural parts of the country. I'll make sure they understand the significance of this and the impact that this has and it is having on all of you. I'll make sure they understand that this is a policy which perhaps is aimed at stopping rich people investing in agriculture because it's a tax dodge and it's actually hurting you, it's not hurting them. I want to work through with them some intelligent solutions and work out how to support you on the ground as well, in terms of whether or not it's requiring tax planning or working with the mayor to make sure you take full advantage of all the investment that's promised to make sure that you are supported to help drive your incomes up as well.
Thank you for listening, Steve. How can we move it forward, Steve? That's the question.
Well, the reason I came here today was to listen to people who actually do the work. It's quite fun to be called socialist twice. I think you'll find that the current Labour government is far from socialist. The last person who looked at nationalising, it is, I'll tell you, it's the last person who looked at nationalising land was actually from Thirsk. It was Joe Maynard, who was an MP for Sheffield Brightside, and within the Labour group, Labour government and movement, was called Stalin's granny. And I think if Labour was going to nationalise land, it would have done so in the 1940s when it did everything else that needed nationalising. We do need farmers. I'm quite happy to say that. So I've got family who are farmers. There's even a guy on my council who's a farmer, and I was speaking to a farmer's wife the other week. She didn't have any problems with the tax issues. We talked about other things instead. But I'm quite happy to listen to you, I'm quite happy to talk to you, and I will take this forward and I will speak to the MPs that I know, and we have got direct access into Cabinet and beyond, if it were. So I'm quite happy to listen, and please speak to me.
Thank you, Steve. That would be a success. That would be a success, Steve, for farmers. Kevin, you want to respond?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Steve, but Keir Starmer is a self-avowed socialist. I don't really, and since I've been in Parliament since 2015, almost every single Labour member of Parliament who's come in has had a professional union background. It is a deeply socialist government, and that's reflected in terms of its policy. And I agree with what that gentleman said there. This is a backdoor nationalisation. If you think about it, if you have to sell land to pay this bill, it's about a third of your land. That's how it works with the tax charges. Take the money out, 3 generations, your farm's gone. It's effectively gone to the government. So I agree with that. It's a politics of envy, this policy. In terms of those people who talked about their father and grandfather, I don't think you've got 7 years to wait. You've got 4.5 years to wait if you can get a Conservative government, because we said reverse it. So it's not as bad as that. It's 7 years. It's 4.5 years. Of course, you're right to say, you should make a profit. You're not going to invest if you don't make a profit. And to do that, you need a fair price for your produce. And I get the fact that the supermarkets hold a massive stranglehold of pricing in this country. We do believe in free markets, but we also believe in a fair and level playing field. And where we feel it's not, whether it be trade agreements, be it supermarkets, we'll do what we can. We can reopen trade agreements. There are review mechanisms in there. The Trade and Agriculture Commission was there to make sure it was a fair deal for you. If it's not, we should look at it again. We have put in place adjudicators, grocery code adjudicators. We'd also plan to put sector adjudicators in to make sure you were getting a fair deal. We can't fix prices, that doesn't work. We've been there before, it simply doesn't work. But in terms of the way forward, very fair challenge, Chris. Of course, we speak offline to the government all the time. I speak to Rachel Reeves, I speak to Steve Reed, all these people, to try and illustrate to them what this actually will mean in practice. I've got to say, those conversations are not very fruitful, because I think this policy is doing exactly what they planned it to do. Not raise a huge amount of money, but effectively hit people they perceive as wealthy and redistribute that money to the people they perceive as deserving who are not. That's what it's about. So I think you're battling against that, but still keep battling. Through the NFU, through the CLA,
through Jeremy Clarkson, any way you can, make sure you get out there. I think the protests you've done have made a real difference. They have moved the needle. The government is under pressure. Keep it up. I'm not particularly hopeful that it'll make that change you want, but let's try. Kemi Benock is very clear. We reverse this. That was something I pushed her to do right from the start. She was very willing to do it, both on APR and BPR. So you will get that change. I hope you get it under this government. But if you do not, you'll definitely get it when we're in government.
I don't know where to begin, really. All we hear is talking. We're going to talk to this. Come and talk to me. Talk to this. Talk to that. Talk to the other. If the Conservatives hadn't made such a pig's ear of it, to 1,200,000 in the last year of the Tory government, of people immigrating into this country. That was not in their manifesto. What we need is a complete change. And there is no quick fix for this. The only real fix, in my mind...
What you really need to do is you need to go to bloody Tesco's, Amazon, and some of these big companies, and you need to go and get some money off them, because Tesco's keep announcing how many billions and billions of pounds profits they make, and we get bugger all for what we produce, and they go saying the team and say, I'm going to pay the money of our profit. Why isn't she going to Apple? Why isn't she going to these other companies? This is what I would really like to know. Because if you want money for the NHS, that's where you go get your money. That's what.
You'll find that no farmers have got anything juicy for the politicians. The farmers have got dirty hands and long hours and endless toil, and we just get on with it. We don't have anything to offer them apart from the land. They want to take the land away from us. They want to give it to their corporate friends to cover in solar farms so they can get more backhanders, I would imagine. I don't know. It doesn't make any kind of sense. But there is no quick fix. The only fix is a complete clear out of this corruption in government and the civil service. And these people forget their public service. We have some semblance of democracy in this country. We the people should make the decisions. None of these people are fit to take decisions for us. We get, as you say, not much more than half as much again for all the produce that we produce than we did in the 80s. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There is no profit in farming, but we have to eat. We have to, as a country, feed ourselves. A priority for any government should be not penalising people that actually produce things that people need. We ought to prioritise making ourselves self-sufficient in the best quality food that you can get in the world, which is produced by the people here, and we should be recognised for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are. Who's next?
I think they're getting the gist of what's happening now, so we're just going to go along the channel, along the panel, 1 minute to sum up where we're going to go forward after today, and whether today was worthwhile in convincing people that farming isn't a mess.
Okay, so I hear the criticisms about me sound like not much more than they're talking shop. I'm afraid that's where democracy starts. It's about hearing, listening, understanding, working together where you can, finding common ground, and then working out what the solutions are and taking action. So it may sound like we're not going to do very much to start with until we're at this stage. I understand it's critical, I understand action needs to be made soon, but this is what I will do what I've said I'm going to do, which I will raise this at county level, I will raise this with MPs, and ensure that at Westminster these issues are heard. Just picking up on Anna's point about tenant farmers, I'm sure she's not the only tenant farmer in the room. I'm very, very much aware of the issues, the very specific issues that are related to tenant farmers. I'm very happy to talk more to anyone who wants to discuss this with me. I understand that in your tenancies there's a lot of restrictions there which wouldn't apply to you if you owned your own land, and that those need review. So that's just a point to draw out of that. But please do contact me. I'm keen to make progress with this. I'm keen to see how the council can help just help take the strain off you. I'm keen for the council to look at its procurement policies, for example. You may say that's a small measure, but actually if you accumulate that policy over years, it really could have significant impact on you if the council was actually looking at, and the NHS and all the government agencies, looking at where they buy their food from, buying it locally, supporting you and helping build food chains in that way. Thank you.
Any of your own two cheeks of the same backside. Because nothing has happened over the years. All you've done is raise taxes and get people that have people with less and less money. You can be shaking your head. You've been in there 10 years, you said. And what have you done? Nothing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a Jerseyman, right? I've been over here 17 and a half years. And I've been studying what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, none of you are worth voting for except for that man. And I agree with that farmer over there who said about supermarkets. Jersey got ruined because of supermarkets. And nothing's being done about it. It's greed, total greed. And as for Keir Starmer, that man is a blooming disgrace to this country. Reform can maybe take over, because they're the only ones that have big sense. You can shake your head, but as far as I'm concerned, you're a waste of space.
Chairman, I wasn't invited to sit at the table. I do represent another political party that only has 4 MPs, I have to know. But what I would like to say, it's down to grassroots. I'm a retired farmer. I still own the land, I rent it out, but what I will say, I have principles, and I do, as a factory manufacturing dog food, the biggest one in the country now. I buy Yorkshire meat and all the products from the UK. My competitors buy chickens from Thailand. My products are better, and I produce a product that sells British food. And I just think it comes down to, you've got to have the courage to actually do what you say you want to do. I could make more money buying cheap food, but I will buy Yorkshire produce at the expense of getting a great award from the King for sustainability. I believe it comes down to us putting our money where our mouth is. It's well said.
What he's just said. I mean, at my small parish council, we try to buy locally first, Yorkshire second, and it works. I know the Environment Secretary at his Oxford conference said that he wants all councils, military bases, NHS to use at least 50% local produce. I'm old enough to remember going to school when the dinner ladies used to actually cook and buy stuff from the local market. I did work in a school where we don't teach kids how to cook anymore. We do food technology, how to design a bloody pizza box. That needs changing. I think we can argue the toss about how elections run, but the way this country is run, the one who wins the most votes in each constituency controls the power. And it's going to be Labour and or Tory. I think that's the only choice. Reform are very good at shouting and bawling, but they will not and cannot run this country. I think you'd be bitterly, bitterly disappointed. And I think that is never, thankfully, going to happen. I'm here today. I'm here to listen. I'm quite happy to come. I do wish to say I am a very, very, very small cog in the machine, and you need to be inviting MPs from my party here. Yeah. And I will make sure I will get them.
I invited MPs from Labour, and they ignored me. Full stop.
Well, they won't ignore you next time.
No, because we'll discuss that afterwards, because I think he's not finding out. As you know, it got silly.
I did not get an invite to this meeting in the first place. I was asked why I wasn't attending. I hadn't received an invitation. When I got a copy of the email, I sent it straight back and said I would come, and I'm here. So if you do need help persuading people to come or making them come, I'll speak
Well,
to
it's
you.
responding to emails instead.
Can you hear? Oh, good. Where we go from here, I think that everybody who wants to make a change in the country needs to get involved in the grubby business of politics. We all need to do our bit to ensure that none of these ever get anywhere near the levers of power again. We need to make sure that the people have their voice heard and that the people make the decisions, not politicians. I'm not a politician. I'm not a public speaker. I just say what I feel. So everybody here who wants to do something about it, whoever they are, is not going to do it. We, like we do all day, every day, is to do it ourselves. We need to get involved. I hope you get involved with reform, join reform, and come along to our branch meetings and make a real difference. Have your voice heard. And then at the next general election, we will get rid of all of these lot. And we will have our country back. Now, beyond that, I don't have any advice. The socialists, to my mind, socialism is just like a disease of the mind. You want something that someone else has made and worked for, just because you're too bone idle to get it yourself. I think that we need to shoulder the wheel ourselves. We've only got ourselves to blame for voting for these people for so long. I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody. I used to vote Tory, but it was the least worst option. We need to vote for a positive option. So please, can everybody here look at reformuk.com and look at the policy document. It's a pledge, not just some kind of fake promise of maybe this and maybe a bit of that. It's an absolute pledge to the people. And if I am lucky enough to stand for reform again, I absolutely promise everybody here that I will do my very best to make the country great again and to give us a future.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me without the microphone. I'd rather speak without that. Emma, can I just take your point? And congratulations to you, Rob, for all the work you've done, the campaign you've run in terms of trying to protect your farm. And I hope you think I've given you every support I can. I don't do this job because I love this job. I do this job because I love this area. I'm born and brought up in it. And of course other people can say they'd make a better job of it, and you're welcome to try. I'll do what I can until somebody tells me you're no longer the Member of Parliament for this area. But this is a great country. We're the 5th largest exporter in the world. We're the 3rd fastest growing economy in the G7 since 2010. We've got the most high growth companies in Europe in terms of growth from scratch to $1 billion valuation. More than Germany, France and Sweden put together in terms of those high growth companies. Yes, we get some things wrong. We can't get everything wrong in the last 14 years, or you wouldn't have elected us by a country mile in 2019. But we've got some things wrong,
Brexit.
of course.
You've
had your turn, Mark.
It was just
You've had
Brexit.
your turn, Mark.
Yeah.
We got some things wrong, absolutely right. But you talk about immigration. What would you have done in 2022? Would you have accepted those 500,000 people, 500,000 people coming from Ukraine, those people coming from B&O? Would you have done that? And yeah, you talk about migration levels. Of course we made mistakes on that.
It wasn't only that year, Kevin.
You've had your chance, Mark. You've had
your chance for 14 years.
You've had your chance. But the reality is, as you all know, it's dead easy to stand on the sidelines and criticise. That's the easiest job in the world. And it shows what Labour did. Stood on the sidelines, criticised, it was all going to be so easy. It's not as easy as you think, governing. But nevertheless, I will do all I can. I love this area. I'll always try to represent your views. Of course, I will go back to Parliament and I'll continue to represent your views, both in terms of the government and in terms of my party, to make sure we do the right thing by you, get that fair and level playing field, a fair deal where we can. I say I live and breathe this area, and I'm always trying to make sure your voice is heard in Parliament. It's my privilege to serve this area, and I'll continue to do it to the best of my ability.
just say a big thank you to Phil and Clare. Obviously, it's only started 6 days ago, and look what's happened in 6 days.
Incredible.
If we keep going now, we are in the public eye. We have got everybody looking at us. We just need to know what to do. We need people on our side. We need to move it forward. So thanks for coming. Phil's going to have the last word. Phil set this up. Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you for your time.
Right, first of all, I'd like to thank the panel and Chris. Chris has been a great help today. Realise we're being hijacked a bit by political things and all the rest of it, but the grassroots of it is all us farmers, none of us are happy with what's going on. We need to go to our councillors, our MPs, and keep lobbying them. Keep emailing them, keep phoning them, keep going to the constituency office meetings on a Friday. Is it Friday, Kevin? Yeah, Fridays at the meetings. In your area, keep bothering them, keep annoying them. I'll put my hand up. I've had a phone call off the police to say stop bothering one Labour MP. I'd like you all to be standing there like me, and then perhaps they might get the
They're not going.
get the answers. You know. Thank you all for coming. I realise it's going to be long.